I am at the Canyon Trail in Whitehorse, Yukon. Today was the day to go to the Arctic Circle, but that got upended due to the driving conditions, but that's okay. That's the second time, because when I was in Fairbanks 2 years ago, it didn't quite work out, but that's not meant to be. But especially, and God bless everybody in Florida who's trying to, and Western North Carolina, trying to rebuild from the storms. This is about 4,000 miles away in the Yukon. This just stunning trail. I could live here. I mean, I seriously mean that. I don't mean that joking. This is somewhere in the future to retire to. That sounds crazy. I'm not a winter fan, but I'm really enjoying this. And I really like now that people come to a place and they are on, I wouldn't call this a vacation. I'm not lying on the beach in the Bahamas, but they're on vacation. They're exploring. And they fall in love with a place. But living in a place is a lot different than just coming to visit. Because I do see some major things here. There's a lot of though it's actually very similar to where I live in New Mexico. Most of the money in the jobs are either resource-based or government, the territorial government. That's looking better. It's clearing up. I'm going to try to see the Aurora Borealis. Try. Well, for everybody in Florida and Western North Carolina, you could move here. You don't have hurricanes here. I know it would be a huge change. It's like the literally and metaphoric, the polar opposite here. But I am just loving this. People here are just, they're just genuinely really warm people. They'll go to a place and say how great the people are compared to where they come from. But, you know, in Canada has its issues. Number one, it's got a lot of rules, and it's expensive. It's extremely expensive. Like, you're talking $1 million for a 3-bedroom. I mean, it's probably why. And I don't know what you're getting there, that it's so great. I mean, British Columbia is nice, but it's mega money there. And I like Vancouver. Now, it comes in, how long could you stand this for? Could I do this? This is fun and new and interesting for a week. But, and I will say, would this get old? Because this is going to get worse, much worse. This is just the end of October, and this was an early snowfall. Now, one thing here, the Yukon and the Northwest Territories in Canada and Alaska probably have the best nature in the whole world, untouched. But you can't fuck around here. You can't fuck around in Alaska. You can't just drive 10 minutes like you're in Arizona or Arkansas or West Texas and be at some hiking trail. You have to have a good four-wheel drive, a great, let me take that back. It doesn't have to be something stupid like a Range Rover, some garbage like that. You have to have a very good built-up off-road vehicle. Not for here, not all sorts of stuff. But if you want to go to the edge of Alaska, the edge of the Yukon, the polar north, living here, this is for all these people who think they want to come to Alaska, because this is next to Alaska, and you want to have this brand new life. That's the worst thing to do, because another thing here, obviously, as you see, you're dealing with a lack of sun, and again, that's going to get worse. And you're going to get, as the winter goes on, days are going to come to and get dark at 3:30, and that will take a toll on your mental health. And another thing, going back to having, you got to have a vehicle, a truck or an SUV with full spare tires, gas tanks, everything in case you get parts, in case you get stuck. Have it built up, because people fuck up all the time in Alaska. Here as well, going to Dawson City on the Dempster Highway, national parks. I mean, you're out of luck if you are stranded. There's not much service, there's none, and it's just but you're getting a trade-off of the water from the sink is good. It's clean. I mean, they, like I said in a previous video, they have their drug problems, but it's nothing like the US. But if you want to move up here, you gotta, and you want to take advantage of the nature, you better have your vehicle ready to go, and you got to have you got to have money. Number one, immigrating to Canada is not cheap for Americans. Going to Alaska is just not cheap in general. It's living off the grid bullshit, which is what homesteading majority, and you got to know what you're doing, and most people in America can barely walk down the street. So in this sense that you need to have these skills that really come from living in rural, mountainous environments. And number two, you got to have you got to have snowmobiles, ATVs, outdoors vehicles to enjoy this. You're not going to just, like I said, drive maybe 30 minutes, and there you are, you're in, you're at the Sandia Mountains, you're in Cottonwood, an hour and a half, you're in Sedona. Like that. You don't need any of that stuff. You can do it in a car. Here, you need all that. So that's something to consider.